Alright guys, welcome back to Valorant News. An absolutely massive day in the Valorant world yesterday with the pre-tournament World Championship favourites getting knocked out with a bit of a whimper, it's got to be said, against Loud last night. A crazy day, especially because Evil Geniuses versus PaperX did not fail to deliver either. And also a massive Jett change, which is going to arguably destroy her in the meta going forwards, and it's going to significantly overhaul the meta going into 2024. Very much enjoy to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. Let's begin here with Sunset, the new map supposedly based in LA, which looks like this. Now, you can look at the details and figure out some kind of, some areas of this have just been copied over, it seems like, from other assets, shall we say. And you can probably look at this and figure out the way the map is designed. It's, it looks rather similar to Ascent, let's be honest. I mean, in terms of style, it's kind of similar to Ascent and in even some sense similar to Lotus. But, yeah, this is the new Sunset map. There's no special gimmicks about this, and this is why people are like, the devs are getting a bit lazy now, which I don't really mind. I mean, it's got 2 bomb sites, it's, a 3-lane map or a box-shaped map, however you want to describe it, it seems, depending on, whether you come from a Call of Duty or a Counter-Strike background, and there's no gimmicks on this. There's no pits to the depths of the earth, there's no teleportation, we believe at least. So, yeah, just straight-up gameplay. I don't think that's a bad thing at all, and we'll see when, well, actually, it'll be probably today or tomorrow when we get an overview of the map, and I think probably the pros or some of the guys have played on it at this point and have some idea whether it's going to be any good or not, but we know this is coming into the map pool in addition to Breeze, with Fracture and Pearl getting kicked straight out of there. Now let's talk about the patch note 7.04. Let's keep in mind, this is coming into effect after the World Championship, and this is a traditional thing for Riot. The World Championship ends, they want to see big changes going into the new season, but they're not wasting any time at all. Like, they are making mega changes right now, especially to Jett, but pretty much all of the agents are getting nerfed, which is a bit surprising. I think I would say that if you want agents like Euro and others to actually be used, or Deadlock for example, they're going to need something of a buff. You can't just nerf all the other agents and hope that, it's going to make those other agents more powerful, but that's just my perspective. Let's dive into it. Pretty much everything has been nerfed to some degree. There are some agents that have like a buff and a nerf, but for example, Breach here, the Aftershock, its ticks are reduced from 3 to 2, but its damage does go up now from 60 to 80. A lot of ultimate points being increased as well, so for, the Rolling Thunder, for Brimstone's Orbital Strike as well, for Fade, re-equipping the weapon is going to take slightly longer after the Prowler, so again, another slight nerf. Now, Wingman's HP has been reduced, the Thrash has been kind of reworked a little bit, and then the Mosh Pit actually does a bit of, damage. So, there's some tweaks to a lot of these agents that haven't seen too much use. Now, Killjoy, I've got to say, she's like the best agent right now. She basically does it all, and I know that a lot of that is because her other counterparts have been nerfed somewhat. So she does get a slight nerf here with the lockdown going from 8 to 9. That's not really a massive deal as far as I'm concerned with respect to how good Killjoy is as a character. So, yeah, nothing crazy to Killjoy, despite the fact that right now it's Jett and Killjoy that are kind of like the 2 agents that are really meta, and Jett has been killed by this, as far as it looks that way, at least to me. So, Omen, the Paranoia, there's no movement velocity imparted while casting, so that's also kind of interesting. And then even Sky, so the Guiding Light down to 2 seconds, a nerf there, Trailblazer, the HP's been reduced, and then for the Seekers, the ultimate points go up and the health has been decreased. So, few nerfs there to Sky, and you'll see that mostly it's nerfs across the board. I mean, for Viper, again, the Viper's Pit's gone up to 9 now, ultimate points, and for Astra, we see generally nerfs as well. The startup time for the Gravity Well has been increased, the duration has been decreased. For the Nova Pulse, the startup time has actually been decreased, so a slight kind of buff there. And then this is an interesting buff for Cosmic Divide that completely blocks off all the audio rather than just muffling it, which is actually kind of a nice buff, I guess. So there's some pros and cons to these, but the main one for the Jett players out there is this from, this is pretty crazy, I'm not going to lie. They've basically nerfed everything. So ultimate points have gone up from 7 to 8, first of all. Only 1 updraft as well, which is, many people would say that, this is a big deal. Everything is a big deal here. People would say, she needs like 2 dashes now or the tailwinds, but the dash window, which you can activate and then have to then execute upon, has gone down from 12 to 7.5, which is a big deal. Now, if you really know what you're doing with her and you know when you're going to get into an engagement, you can probably make it work still, but that is a big nerf, and the activation windup has also been increased as well. What I think might represent the biggest deal though here is the Cloudburst, because her smokes, if you want to enter into a site, those smokes for, they roughly last 5 seconds. it's pretty good. I mean, her smokes get you out of there, you can dash, you can updraft, you can get out of the way, and, you know, 5-second smoke is pretty good. A 2.5-second smoke doesn't really, you know, that lasts for no time at all. And, you know, time to re-equip the gun takes slightly longer even after using the ability. So, yeah, loads of nerfs here to Jett. Now, they've tried to nerf her before and it didn't really work in terms of removing it from the meta. But I think this is going to do a pretty damn good job. And Demon 1 says they killed Jett. Now, we've seen it before where players say, oh, you know, this agent is dead, this agent is dead. But in this case, I think it's very likely this agent is getting significantly less use going forwards. And as Derke says, right, obviously Demon 1 and Derke might be somewhat biased in you know, which agents they like to use, especially in Derke's case. I guess people who balance the agents, says it in quotations because he doesn't think they're getting balanced particularly well, are the same ones that make the scheduling, everything all at once. I think this is a fair analysis as well. Like, we've got a big off season until January. Why not just, you know, ease in some changes? Instead of changing everything at once, what about, you know, and trying to kill an agent as a whole? How about experiment with smaller changes and try and make some more variety on what could be played? Like, did they forget about Phoenix, right? You know, I honestly kind of forgot Phoenix even existed as an agent, let's be honest, because he doesn't get used at all. And it's not like they've given him a buff here. So, yeah, really intrigued to your thoughts on that. But also, what does it mean for Chamber? Because Chamber has been slowly creeping back in to be a little bit more viable, not crazy, but, you know, he gets maybe, you know, 8 to 10% pick rate, it seems, at the moment, especially by certain teams. And if you need an operator agent, Chamber might be back in force. So, yeah, that's a really big deal. But let's talk about the matches from last night, because both of my predictions finally were wrong. I've been, you know, needing a day where all my predictions are terrible, and it happened yesterday, but I'm not mad about my predictions, to be honest, because I took EG winning a close 2-1, and it was very close to being true. Game 1, Com was a monster here, honestly. This play was so nice for this 1 versus 2 as well. They take Game 1 Evil Geniuses, and Game 2, I mean, like, obviously people were talking about this, because when you look at it on Bind from this overhead view, seeing what's going on here is kind of insane. I mean, look, I don't know what I'm even looking at here half the time, to be honest. Obviously, I know the individual abilities, but I do wonder whether a player that's never really watched any Valorant before will come into this and they'll think, well, I'll just go back to maybe watching CS, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of wild, that 20 seconds of play. But, I mean, look, this is Paper X, baby. This is how they play. And Evil Geniuses were countering them very well Game 1. It was almost like fighting fire with fire, and PRX seems, honestly, somewhat lost for the first few rounds here. And it got to a point where Demon 1 was shooting some serious bodies. I mean, every player he was killing, he was putting extra bullets into them just to, you know, give them some extra love. And it felt like at this point, EG was super confident they were going to close out this series 2-1. But this is the thing. If you guys have followed other esports before, you will well know there is considered to be some sort of a curse when you start shooting bodies. And as Zekken tweeted at the time, shooting bodies activates PRX and they come back 2-1. And this is the thing that Demon 1 had to fare with, is that, you know, PaperX then decided, all right, we're going to win all these defensive rounds in a row. EG had really no counter, and, you know, something was waving goodbye to Boostio, even on the kind of small camera that you guys can see there. Went to a Game 3, and this is a crazy Game 3 right here on the Pearl. This was a massive round for Mindfreak, though. Like, this was such a momentum switcher, to be honest. Yes, it went to overtime anyway, but you imagine if he doesn't clutch this crazy 1v3, I'll just put it on the big screen again because it's just so clean, the shots he hits. Mindfreak was doing everything for these guys, the final map. Like, he's not usually a player that you think of as being the big star and standout for these guys. Obviously, you're usually looking at Something or Jing or Forsaken for sure, but Mindfreak completely came to play here. And in the end, they take it to an overtime, Paper X, and they get the job done 15-13. EG were up, I think, 11-6, and they couldn't close it out. Absolutely gutting for Evil Geniuses. But yeah, Paper X get the job done right. I mean, this story arc of Jing's like a farewell, let's say, from the scene before he goes to do military service next year and effectively has to retire. That storyline is apparently just, you can't take it down, right? He's undefeated. Absolutely incredible series. Really tough one from Boostio. I know he was saying afterwards that, like, playing these guys is so painful. Like, it's just so difficult to counter them. But 13-10, it was 39 the other way. And then that crazy overtime out. I knew it was going to be a great series. It certainly delivered. But Paper X to the finals. They have been the favourites for a little bit of time now, and they will continue in that vein, especially with the elimination of the pre-tournament tournament favourites. Now, before we get to that, we've got to say that they revealed after the match that they were given a warning by Riot Games. Like, I guess a referee or someone came up to them and said that, yeah, you're not allowed to teabag your opposition. This is like, what is going on with this company? Let's be honest, because first of all, I mean, you're playing the game with Jett. You're allowed to, you know, shoot people in the head, all this stuff. You're allowed to effectively decapitate people with the Jett knives. And yet, if you crouch over someone's body, apparently that's, you know, disrespectful or whatever. But then you've got Demon 1, who was also, I think, doing some teabagging as well, and he's shooting bodies. It's like, but he doesn't get a warning. I don't get it. I don't get why they do this. Just seems so soft as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, they said they got a warning from Riot for teabagging evil geniuses. So I don't know if they do it again in the finals. What, are they going to get disqualified, right? Like, if they do it again in the finals when they're beating whatever team they play in the finals, like, are they going to get DQ'd? I mean, I don't even know what that warning would entail or what the point of it is. But yeah, that was a crazy story in and of itself. But we've got to talk Fnatic, because this was a crazy series. I knew it would be. Fnatic Loud was great the first time around, but I don't really understand what happened. I mean, this clutch was just remarkable again. I mean, this is better than the Mindfreak one. Let me just put this on the full screen. Fnatic, this team, they look undefeated, like unbeatable is really what I meant to say before this tournament began. And now, like, the way they played, I mean, that 1v3 as well, but even situations where Leo's just dying first, Chronicle's getting bodied, I don't really know what it is. Whether it's just a Sadak masterclass, as it might be, and to be honest, if you're any team going into this event, you probably know that if you want to win, you've got to beat Fnatic. Now, it turns out that's not actually been the case, but it was certainly the case for Loud. But the two maps that Fnatic lost in this series were not even close. I mean, Fnatic don't usually lose in this way, and massive credit to Loud. They were like the only team this season, and they were an informed team for sure, even if there is drama behind the scenes. As I said ages ago back in the group stages, they're still easily good enough to get great results such as this. But, I mean, yeah, like, what a performance from Loud. But again, I mean, the only team that could really match them this year so much, Loud, even the start of the year with the lock-in events, they should have beaten Fnatic, let's not forget. I mean, that Icebox collapse was embarrassing. Fnatic win that one, and then when it really matters at the World Championship, after Fnatic hadn't really lost anything all season, apart from that one series to Liquid, they then get beaten twice in a row by Loud, 2-0 the first time, 2-1 the second time, and Fnatic's year going first, now fourth to close out the season. So it's difficult to say precisely what happened to Fnatic here, to be honest, but they weren't the team that we maybe expected to see. Loud played really well, no doubt about it, but Chronicle had another shocker. Like, in the two series he played against Loud, he got bodies, and then again in this one, which is, I mean, yeah, Chronicle's been considered to be, for a little bit of time, maybe the greatest we've had in Valorant, right? Because of all the championships he's won and the grand finals he's reached. Not the case here, especially in this series, and Toys didn't do that much the whole season, or the whole series, until that monster clutch on the Haven that really got them back in position to win. So, I mean, wow, but look at the two maps they lost. 13-4, 13-7, like, not even close. They won a 13-9 ascent, but, you know, that was Loud's pick as well, but wild stuff. So, Fnatic go home. Look at their performances this year. The lock-in, they won everything. The EMEA regular season, they won everything. They only lost to Liquid there in the finals, and then they won everything at Masters, and now they lose two series here to Loud. So, you know, a crazy dominant season from Fnatic, no doubt, and I don't think they'll be considering any changes, but when you go first, fourth, that's no doubt a massive disappointment. Like, they would have wanted to sweep the entire year, at least make it to the finals, and yeah, collapsing in fourth, both losses to Loud, is not what Fnatic were looking for, and the kind of classic Fnatic collapse in some respects maybe has come through again, and the run of Chronicle reaching the finals of every international event he's attended has been broken. He's won, you know, of the last 4 events he's gone to, he's won 3 and came second at 1. This year, fourth, didn't even make the finals, and didn't deserve to, honestly, on that performance. So crazy stuff. It's wild to see that Fnatic actually can lose. I mean, the way they performed against some of these teams, especially Loud, but even other matches that Fnatic played weren't so impressive. I mean, they were kind of scraping their way through the tournament, to be honest, but Fnatic are gone. That leaves today Evil Geniuses Loud. I mean, I don't even know how to call this series anymore. Like, I kind of want to take EG to win, but we do get EG Loud after all the talking points. But yeah, I don't know what I want to see in the finals. I'd be down for a Paper X EG rematch, to be fair, because I think that'd be a banger. But I don't really care what happens at this point. It's all been so entertaining. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.